men. The young men and young women are important. Like their future, their involvement in things, their level of accountability, man and woman, it's both important. But men, I'm beginning to learn as I get older, it's really on us to a degree because we create the energy. We create the environment. We get married, we move in here, we doing that. Typically, all that's created by the man's energy, or it should. You see what I'm saying? So you're preparing your young man to lead a family, and sometimes single moms, I'll get at y'all for a minute. You will be trying to create the young man you want. Well, that only works if, based on some of the things I'm saying here, you've created a non-toxic list of things you want. You see what I'm saying? So we need to be careful. So again, everybody who's just tuning in, we talking about how do we prepare young men for the dating game? How do we prepare young Black men to be the best possible mate for our young Black women? And keeping in mind, doing this correctly affects all of us. Making sure, picking the right mate, being a stand-up man who knows the importance of resources, thinking about your legacy, the importance of hard work. If all of our men practice these traits, we wouldn't have many problems. You see what I'm saying? We got to start somewhere, and depending on the system to do anything that's going to positively affect the Black family is null and void. Like, that's fantasy at this point, but together we can. You feel me? So make sure he's not just looking at a woman for how she looks. If the woman is beautiful, you need to be confident with yourself. That's all it's about, is confidence. None of that shit matters. At the end of the day, looks fade. A person being a stand-up individual is way more important than how they look. Like making sure that they will ride for you when they need to, able to be responsible, able to tell you the truth, able to have a great dialogue with you. But men, believe me when I tell you, all this shit starts with you. If you got a woman who ain't about nothing, who don't talk about nothing, who y'all ain't got much in common, family, this is your fault. It's your fault. You picked her. We are picking our mates. This is a fact, family. This is a fact. So whatever kind of woman you want, I'm talking looks, physique, mentality, it's all based on you. Because if you don't have those things, you're not going to find it. You see what I'm saying? And that's the bottom line. And this all lends itself to everything young men need to be. Because if we teaching them all of this shit, of course, like I spoke about last week, we also throwing in there, you're going to read a little bit. You're going to be as articulate as you can possibly be. You're going to think outside of the box, gain a new perspective so you can have all, you need all of these things in your tool belt when it comes to courting a woman. Like, you should be able to talk about things. You should be able to give direction about particular things. This is a fact, family. Like, Black men need to get back to this. Not all, because we got a lot of Black men out here doing this right now. But our young men, if we're looking at the young men that's shooting and killing, we're looking at the young men that come from single parent homes. We're looking at the young men who's shiftless, living off of a female. We all know dudes like this, right? Something probably went wrong in his adolescent stage. Like when he was a very small child, some of these attributes I'm talking about probably wasn't expressed to him. See? Because we always want to have a bad seed, but typically I think we're creating bad seeds. That's something we don't want to talk about. Right? So we need to start from the basics of making sure he's a solid individual, and all these things will help. So again, having discipline, not being enamored by a woman's looks because you have experience, because you're confident, because you shortly understand looks don't really matter as far as how you approach a woman, how receptive a woman is to your approach. If you approach her the right way, if you're confident, how she look don't matter. You see what I'm saying? So be focused on whatever your goals are in life. Don't allow the beauty of a woman, the sex of a woman, to put you in a position where now you neglecting your responsibilities. Now you reorganizing your goddamn priorities in your life for a woman. None of this should ever happen. Teach a young man. We don't need no simps out here. And that's real talk right there. We don't need no simps. We don't need no young man who will do anything for sex, who will position himself in any way possible just to get the attention of a woman. Nah, that's not gonna be necessary. And as we move forward, you see what I'm saying? Because like just on some real shit, on like some hood shit down there, teach your young men using your money Let's say you do got a young man who becomes successful with his job, with his business, or whatever. Nothing replaces conversation and confidence. Nothing replaces that, because we got men out here, let's keep it real, who gonna throw their money at the situation. He ain't got a mouthpiece. He can't really articulate himself. He ain't really got a point of view about shit. But what he do got is money. That's simp behavior, and it is tricking if you got it. Like, don't let the rappers get it fucked up where you're just where it seems as if they're spending a enormous amount of money on a woman. Let's keep everything in perspective. If you like a woman and you feeling her, y'all together, and you got money and you want to spend it on her in any way possible, that's your money. But to get a woman's attention, to spend money to get a woman's attention, spending money to get a woman to like you, spending money to get a woman to be in your presence, this is all sucker shit to me. Like, just on some, no young man should approach dating in this manner. You know what I mean? Not only will they probably get taken advantage of, but they'll end up being in a situation where they get divorced, you get in half. All this because you a sucker for love. Like, the way to prevent being a sucker for love is to love your goddamn self. That's how it starts. To love yourself. Be motivated by what you got going on. Be so enthralled in your business, your work, your whatever you got going on your own. No woman will be able to move you to the point where you feeling like you got to trick all your money, or you feeling like she's not going to do something if you don't give her money. This is trick behavior. And if you got a son, men that's listening to me, if you got a son, let's teach our young men to be honorable. Like, I don't like that type of exchange in society, because if that's the case, he could just go get a prostitute if that's the case. But if we're talking a woman you're going to be in a relationship with, mating with, having kids with, nah, money is important. But men who lead with money often are lacking other things. And that's to the detriment of all of us. Because some of these dudes end up, we see all the time, an NBA player or NFL player get to the NFL, and now he got 4, 5, 6 kids by different women. They getting him for all these amounts of child support. This is a dude who really wasn't put up on game when he was younger, or not used to having a whole bunch of women. See, like I said about the beautiful women thing, if you're not used to being around a woman who's attractive, this happens to all men. You may end up being all fidgety, may end up not knowing what to say. All sucker behavior. This is all sucker shit. Like, all men should be purpose-based. Like, what's your purpose on this earth, family? You're on a mission to find that shit out as soon as possible. Some of us find it at 8. Some of us find it at 28. Whatever, but that should be your mission. And if that's your mission and that's what you exhibit, women will see that and they'll like it. See how it all works together. You see what I'm saying? So if you know a young man out there who's sleeping on a bitch couch, if you know a young man out there who living off a woman, if you know a man out there who got 3, 4 women but ain't got a job, this is toxic behavior that's going to possibly negatively affect all of us, because these two people will procreate. This young person they produce will either be someone who doesn't abide by the law at all, someone who goes out to society and wreaks havoc. And how does that help any of us? See, so we parents need to start stepping the fuck up. We let too many parents off the hook. Oh, my son, he's shooting everything. Oh my God, I don't know why he acting like that. A lot of times you didn't do your job as a parent. Let's keep it real. This parenting thing, there's no handbooks for it. There's no right or wrong sometimes, but we need to take it more serious. We need to take the preparation part more serious. As Black people, we can't deny that fact. Too much shit goes on in our communities where I say, wait a minute, I'm not going to blame this on this child. I'm not going to blame it on the child. There are adults around who ain't doing what the fuck they're supposed to do. You see what I'm saying? So all of these things I mentioned, rewind it if you haven't heard some of this. These are all some of the steps we need to take to making sure our young men are prepared for dating, like prepared for the world around them. But because preparing, everything I'm mentioning is going to get you right for life, right? It's going to put you in a position in life where you're not starving, where you're not struggling, where you can produce generational wealth, where you can provide resources to your children when they're born, where you can put them in a position where college isn't a problem, traveling, vacations. Life is about perspective and experiences. And sometimes we procreate in such a way that we relinquish the option of even doing some of these things because we didn't prepare. We can't act like that's not a thing. If you have a child and you ain't got no place to live and you don't got no money, I'm not sure if you should have had a child in that situation. See, and these are hard conversations to have, but producing children in the world with no stability, no resources, you're lucky if they end up being productive members of society. So what are you actually doing to this world if you producing fucking you producing demon seeds? You know what I mean? Think about how many young black kids you've seen that's hella bad, hella rambunctious, hair all fucked up. You can look at you can look at him and say, if somebody don't get to him, he gonna wreak havoc on all of us. This is a problem, and we can't blame this on white supremacy. We can't blame this on white society or racism. No, some of those things have went into creating the environments we live in or the environment that sets up things we do, but personal accountability can never be taken off of the table. So how, going forward, how our young men procreate, who they decide to have babies with, who they decide to spend time with, this is going to shape our future. Think about that, family. Think about that. People always want to act like, because Young Thug, that brother's in jail right now. Hopefully everything works out with his situation. But he said something a few weeks ago that had everybody hot, where he basically said, if you broke, you shouldn't have kids. Now, I think the context and the clip that was taken was kind of like for shock and awe. But in general, people was flabbergasted with that ideal. Oh, if my mom would have aborted me, I wouldn't be a doctor now. I wouldn't be a lawyer now. There wouldn't be a LeBron James. My opinion, family, if a kid is born in a certain situation, you're lucky if he ends up being LeBron James. You're lucky if he ends up being a doctor or a lawyer or some type of profession of that magnitude. You're lucky. Those are one-offs. I think typically single parent, no resources, no structure, horrible environment, the child is going to succumb to that environment. I think that's what happens on average, right? There's always outliers. There's always people who are stronger, who know how to deal with things differently and maneuver around things. That happens. But we are products of our environment, and this society understands that if I create a certain condition, everybody doesn't have the wherewithal to maneuver around these things. A lot of you gonna get caught up in it, and that's what we've seen from our young black men. Because if we want to produce like better thinkers, revolutionary spirited individuals, young men who can help our community, who got college educations, who put themselves in a position. This is all possible. This is all necessary. We have to preach this to our kids. Having hella baby mamas is a reckless behavior. It's actually a reckless behavior. It's something that should be avoided. You should preach it to avoid it. You should frown upon it even. Yeah, we should make that cool. Having hella kids in hella different houses,